I had a full breakdown today on a player prop that I really liked in the NFC title game, and it's Miles Sanders with the rushing yards. When you look at the Niners defense overall, and the first number that I saw on Sanders with the prop, it was 55.5 yards rushing. And I'll explain where it's at coming up in a few minutes. But the top rushers overall on the year against the Niners defense, Zeke led the Cowboys last week, 10 carries, 26 yards. Now, the week before that, Walker had 15 carries for 63 yards. Josh Jacobs late in the year had 69 yards. Brian Robinson had 58, but that was on 22 carries. Rachaad White for the Buccaneers in a blowout had 56 on 13 carries.
Carroll abandoned the run, too, in that playoff game.
He did.
But Walker was having success early.
But a lot of the year, the leading rusher in Week 18, Corey Clement, had 23 yards. Walker, a few weeks before that, had 47. Mostert had 30 to lead the Dolphins. Dalton had 21 to lead the Saints. You get where I'm going with this. It was very difficult to get a lot of yards against this Niners defense. Miles Sanders was held under 55.5 yards 6 times this year. The 49ers are number 2 in the league in rushing yards allowed per game and number 2 in rushing EPA per play. And when you look at the teams that held Sanders in check this year, he had 46 against Washington. They're 3rd in rushing EPA per play. He had 54 his other time against Washington. He had 47 against the Colts, 9th in rushing EPA per play. He had 24 yards rushing against Tennessee, 1st overall in rushing yards allowed and in rushing EPA per play. 2 games that didn't make any sense. He had 42 against Chicago, and I needed him, and that was a playoff game for fantasy, and he did nothing, and the Bears held him in check. He had 33 in the Giants in Week 18, very bad against the run. I'm going to throw that game out. It was Week 18.
Throw it out.
He also had 21 for 65 against Dallas and 18 for 71 against that team. However, that's only 3.1 and 3.9 yards per rush. Cowboys 4th overall in rushing EPA per play. He had 1 really good game against a top 10 team defensively. That was Jacksonville. And he gashed the Texans 24th, the Lions 27th, the Giants in the regular season 31st, and the Packers 32nd overall. So when the Eagles played really poor rushing defensive teams, Sanders went nuts. When he played really good teams defensively against the rush, he didn't do a lot other than Jacksonville.
Yeah.
And the Niners are pretty much as good as it gets. The problem now with this is, Pauly, it was 55.5 yesterday when I was looking at this. It's now already down to 50.5.
God.
Move 5 yards. Come on.
Yeah. The other thing
These guys are good.
Huh?
The bettors know what they're doing.
The other thing is Sirianni, who's going to get all the carries? Gainwell led him last week in yards, but Gainwell had 12 carries. Sanders had 17, and he gave Scott the ball 6 times. Again, where it's like he's doing it on purpose because Scott scores every time they play the Giants.
Yeah.
So that's the, and how many carries will Hurts get as well by design or just take off and run. So that's the other thing about who's getting how many carries and who gets going early on. So that's wild. Yeah. And another thing is, what will San Francisco get going on the ground? And is it McCaffrey or is it Mitchell? And how many carries will each guy get there, and who goes off if they have success on the ground against Philly, too? So that one's tough.
Are you concerned at all about the McCaffrey calf injury?
Nah.
I don't think I am either.
No. Either way, I think Philly's a better team, and Philly's going to beat them. And I was very concerned the fact that Purdy couldn't move the ball against Dallas.
Are you
through the air as well? Remember now, that was a hell of a catch and a poor throw that the Kittle made over the middle near midfield.
Well, and now, by the way, he's going to go from playing the Cowboys secondary to the Eagles secondary?
Absolutely. And I don't care who you are. And I just I can't imagine being that young and that age and how it's, okay, well, you try to block everything out and not have rabbit ears, but now you're 1 win away from the Super Bowl. Mr. Irrelevant young kid, I know everyone talks about the maturity and how sharp he is, but now you're going into that hostile environment, and they're going to call your mom all kinds of names, and they are vile and nasty in Philadelphia. And that is, not to mention, you're going against the best team. So I'm not doing the do theory. I just think it's going to be difficult for him, and Philly's going to get the win.
First of all, Tom Brady's the outlier on this, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, you cannot compare anybody else to what Tom Brady did right away and then throughout his career. That's silly. It's nonsense. You can't do that. And on top of that, how about what Sal Palantonio told us yesterday? Sal's spot yesterday was an A+. And he said he's been covering the team in the league for 30 years.
Right.
This game last weekend against the Giants, he had never seen a crowd like that in Philly. And they've always been one of the best crowds or loudest crowds or, most vulgar crowds in the entire league. And he said it's younger, and he said it's a betting crowd on top of everything else. And his answers that he gave us, it's to imagine Brock Purdy to go there against what he's going to be up against, a very good team, a pass rush, super solid secondary, and that crowd, and to not screw it up at all, and that's asking a lot out of that kid.
Concerned about the defense too, maybe? I mean, you can throw on the Niners. And I have weapons. Here comes A.J. Brown and Smith. Deep.
Right? And so how does the game plan change this week for the Eagles compared to last week? Because you can gash the Giants on the ground.
Yeah.
And you can't do that against the Niners. So I'm not going to be surprised if they come out gunning early.
Right.
And they're taking shots to Brown and Smith and Goddard.
Well, their pass rush doesn't bother me because Hurts can move. Yeah, you come in, it's like, okay, I'll just sidestep you, move around you, throw on the run, bam. There's 10 to Goddard. Here's 15 to Smith. Here comes A.J. Brown. Next thing you know, it's 10-0.
How about Watkins, maybe first touchdown scorer? They take a shot deep, send him on a fly route. He's open.
I come back with Goddard again, but okay.
Now, the tight ends have been so good in that spot here.
Yes, no kidding. Each team to score 20 points in this weekend's games, plus 350.
No, I don't like it.
Really?
No.
Okay, points in every quarter, minus 165. Overtime is 6-1. Safety's 9-1. Will the team get shut out 14-1?
Only 2 games.
I'd take a look at a safety, 9-1.
So you've been all over the under in the Eagles game since Sunday night. Paul, if you like it that much, I would play alt unders too.
Yeah. Well, I know our guy Charlie M and some other people did that with the Dallas game. They
playing out numbers under?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can't believe they let you, some places let you parlay that stuff, which if it's correlated, go ahead. If they let you play alts unders and all that stuff. And that came in the Dallas game. Yeah. Absolutely.
Visit VSiN.com to get current odds, listen for free, find showtimes, and download VSiN sports betting podcasts.